Are you okay over there?
I was a Muppet.
Oh, okay.
That was okay.
He was doing some bobbing.
All right. I thought you were like, I thought it was some like woodland creature you were trying to.
Exactly.
do.
One of the woodland creatures from this movie.
The Podlings?
Do they have names?
Pod?
No.
Sorry, any
They're
name.
all named Pod.
Any name in this
Podling.
movie, I have already forgotten.
They're like the Smurfs. There's like Happy Pod and.
Well, they're the Podlings. They're the first who started podcasts.
Oh.
Perfect. All right. So last week we did, after a thrilling vote, we did The Labyrinth after doing a Jim Henson movie showdown. But because we wanted to capitalize on the new Netflix series, this week we're doing The Dark Crystal, which came out before The Labyrinth.
Yeah, dude, I haven't seen this since I haven't seen it since Betamax.
I saw
long
it
time ago.
I saw it 2 months ago, and I watched it again.
I had never seen it before, and then I watched the first episode of the series right after, and I know you watched the whole thing, right?
I watched the whole series, the making of the series, the movie again, and the making of the movie.
And then I made a few puppets,
And then I got a girlfriend.
and then my shoes fell off.
My shoes.
We're gonna have to release
felt good.
the Jerky Boys thing. All right, Ben.
Did you get that?
Yes.
Good.
All right.
Yes.
For people who haven't seen Dark Crystal, give them a rundown.
In an age of wonder, somewhere in the faraway realm of the innocent Gelflings and the gentle lumbering mystics, the cruel vulture-like Skeksis have been ruling the land with an iron fist for 1,000 years, deriving their power from the life-giving magical crystal. However, with a dying emperor and a vital shard of the gemstone missing, Jen, a fearless Gelfling and the last of his kind, sets off on a perilous adventure to mend the Dark Crystal. As he follows the clues of an ancient prophecy which foretells the end of the evil dictators. But the dangers are countless, and this is a nearly impossible quest. Heroic as he may be, can a single Gelfling bear the burden of an entire planet's salvation on his own shoulders?
That was beautiful, dude. I think I'm about to cry.
I'm gonna question. Would you say what was his name? Jen.
Jen.
The main Gelfling.
Yes, the complicated name Jen.
Yeah. Look at Jen.
Ken.
I take. I don't know if I would call him heroic. Would you? I guess
Yeah,
just
sure.
the fact that he went on the quest itself, but
He did it.
He was very reluctant. He was the reluctant hero a long time.
That's the hero's journey.
He was the reluctant, brainless hero. He knew nothing of what was going on.
At one point, he
also-
literally had the shard and was like,
What do I do with it?
"I don't want this."
Eh.
That's lore. That's like
I know.
Yeah.
this
Yeah, I
hero-
know.
the sword. He doesn't want to wield it.
I take offense to the description you read.
So
Take that, IMDb writer.
I didn't write it.
Anyways,
I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's very much a hero journey.
It's
flow,
definitely the
and
reluctant hero
you
who
get
doesn't
the
want it.
call to action.
It's the opposite of what Star Wars is now.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a reluctant hero.
No, not the same way. No.
No, not at all.
The scripted hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, if there's a prophecy, is that not a script?
That
was unscripted.
It was.
Unscripted. See, that was our hero's
But was it?
journey.
Huh?
Or was it unscripted?
I feel like
I
it
have
was.
a big sheet of papers. I throw it backwards.
No. It's like, do we have free will?
I don't know, man.
Forget the Dark Crystal. Let's talk about this is the free will podcast.
The free will versus determination?
Yes.
That's what Jim Henson intended the entire
I
time.
always feel like
you
there's
know-
no way to prove that we have free will, so you may as well act like you do.
will.
Simplifies things.
We will. Kermit doesn't have free will.
No, he's got it. He's got a hand
Someone's always
inside him
pulling
at
the
all
strings.
times.
Yeah. There's a hand guiding him at all times.
Someday I would have hoped that you'd be the one to pull the strings.
All right, let's talk about the dark crystals.
Fine.
There are 5 dark crystals.
So I think that
This shade of dark, and purple. Look how dark this purple is.
That's pretty good purple.
Yeah, purple.
Hey, listen. You said that you liked Labyrinth more than this, Ben, right?
I do.
I like Labyrinth better too.
Yeah.
I think I actually like this better than Labyrinth.
Oh.
I did not expect that to happen, and I was a little surprised.
What? So I was actually going to start this off a little bit with what do you think? Because there are. What are some of the? Let's start there. What are some of the similarities? Because I think there's a lot of them actually.
Well, there's puppets, and then there's fantasy babble.
Okay. I'm Ben.
Teacher.
Yeah.
I believe it's the same art director. The same guy who created The Labyrinth also created...
I can believe that.
I forget his name. I can look it up.
He's that guy.
But he did also the new series, too. But, in fact, his son, we found out, is
the baby.
The baby in The Labyrinth.
And he's named Toby, and I think that's his real name.
And his
Toby.
son now is helping his dad as the art director. He's an artist, too, in the new
the
series.
Age of Resistance,
Yeah.
I mean, I think both of them did a really in different ways. They did a good job of. So one of our favorite parts, or I would say shared among us,
Are you
was
sure?
the amount of different little characters that pop into Labyrinth
absolutely.
that we did last week. So like, you have a couple that are part of your core team of Ludo and Hoggle and the whatever guy, the dog rider. We never learned his name.
Ambrosia. That's the name
That's the
of his
dog. Yeah, we don't remember the dog's name. But then there's all these other waves of like little goblin people that come in. This doesn't do that quite
Are
the
you
same
kidding
way.
me?
Well, no, they don't have like new ones necessarily.
Well,
It's
they
not-
do that with the fauna of the land.
That's what I was getting
Yeah.
to. Yeah, that scene with the swamp, and like they did this, like kind of. We're just gonna show off here. Where
Yeah,
we
my mouth
pan
was
through.
agape during that
That
scene.
was
It's
awesome.
like just when you think they're done, they keep introducing new stuff.
All
and I
these
was like,
little things that
"Whoa."
are kind of blending in, and then they start moving.
Here it
and-
is, right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
On
That's
cue.
a set right there.
Yeah, definitely.
That was
so
really good.
In the
Really
making,
good.
so they both directed. Jim Henson and Frank Oz directed this movie. And
But they're like one person, right?
yes,
So one's the Skeksis and one's the Mystic.
when Jim Henson directs, Frank Oz puts his hand up his ass and starts barking out orders. And then when Frank Oz directs, Jim Henson sticks his hand up his ass and
they're
starts
just like
barking out orders.
like
Something
both,
not right
like,
here.
He's like,
next
"Stop
to
it!
Action!
What is it?
quiet on set.
Stop the business!
Don't think they say that.
Stop the presses. In a
Shut the gate! No, but in all seriousness, Jim Henson even says in the making that he's a visual director, and Frank Oz is more of
Frank Oz is a wordsmith.
yeah, he is.
I mean, so I think one of the biggest. So while it's similar, they both movies have a very clear adventure endpoint. Like this is our destination. This is where we're going.
Yeah, they set it up
We're
pretty
all
early.
going here.
Yeah.
And you have your lead. That's like purely focused on that direction. I think Dark Crystal was a little bit different in that it felt less like puzzles or like little like mini challenges. To
Yeah,
me,
you're right.
Dark Crystal felt way more
Deterministic.
like the journey,
classic
like,
fairy tale.
I guess, but it wasn't like necessarily things coming in the way or learning new information. It felt a little bit more scaled back than Labyrinth to me.
It's about the friends you made along the way.
It's about the little animals.
It really is, actually. Yeah.
I really liked the Landstriders in this.
That was like my
loved-
least favorite
I
part.
loved the Landstriders.
You're like, those are guys on stilts.
Yeah,
I
that's-
loved it.
That was a
I
little
got
bit.
so mad. So they get on these. So the Landstriders are these big, like, not weird, like
They look
fish-
like Stephen King mist
They
monsters.
look like catfish.
yeah, a little bit
In the
but
face.
with like huge stilt legs.
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna be like bat wings and start flying, but they're just like big, like
Right.
walking horse things.
Do that noise again. It's gross.
Keep doing it. That's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good Hereditary. I got really mad when they ride the Landstriders all the way to the castle. The Landstriders just volunteer to take them there, and then they
leave him to die.
They just let the Beatles kill him.
Yeah.
It's just
But
like,
then
oh,
Jen
yeah,
does that to everybody who
Exactly.
gets attacked.
No, he's like,
oh,
see you, Agra.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm out
Hope
of
you
here.
don't die.
Bye, Podlings.
As he just like watches like
Bye, Podlings again.
he just watches Agra's castle burn up, and he's like, "Geez, I don't know what I'm gonna do on this adventure."
I'm a murderer by proxy.
She's like, bystander principle.
Gosh, if the train was going down 2 tracks and there was a lever to pull, oh.
I just jump off,
If there was an Agra.
save myself.
Fuck it, I just take the shower and go.
Which lever do I pull to save myself? I don't know what to do.
What do I do?
I don't want this lever. Ugh.
He's like, first I would go fleece her and get all the crystals and
Right.
let it go.
Can I tell you, I actually like this movie a lot, but it dabbles a little too much in what I feel like is fantasy babble.
This is much more pure fantasy, I think, than the other one.
It is.
I think so.
And
yeah.
it's not to say that it's bad. It's just very vague fantasy words strung together, and it's a lot of like, what do you call it?
Cliches.
Well, cliches, sure. But what's the setup word?
Setup.
Yeah, sure. Setup is good. There's a lot of talk about the setup, and I just feel like
Like
that's
at the start of the movie.
Exposition.
exposition. Thank you.
I was gonna say the voiceover at the start of the movie.
Almost put me to sleep.
It was a long.
wonder.
Yeah, it took.
He
a long
repeats himself
time.
like 3 or 4 times.
I bet you that. I wonder if that's a producer thing.
Do you think it was an
I wouldn't be
add-on after
surprised.
people were confused?
Yeah.
It's like we need to
I think
give
Jim
people
Henson-
something
I
here.
think Jim Henson wanted it to be different,
That sounds about right, actually. I believe that.
but who knows?
It
Could you get
does.
a polar bear in there?
Sure.
It's in stark contrast to the start where it's like pure voiceover exposition, whereas later there's that I thought a pretty good scene where they find the Gelfling. Now he's found another Gelfling.
More importantly, she's cute.
Yeah, they do that thing called dream fasting.
Do you realize how? Because after watching this one and the new one, they made it real like luscious in the original, like this Gelfling more so than the other Gelflings in the other one.
Well, I think they wanted to make it obvious she was a girl.
It was pretty
like,
obvious.
even more
Just put a
obvious.
bow on it. It worked for Pac-Man.
She's
Yeah.
got wings.
Everybody knows about the wings.
You're a
I hated
boy.
that. I hated that actually.
Really?
I hated the wings part.
Why?
It's like, oh, I have wings, and I have them because I'm a girl. That's fine, but
I don't know.
it was ex machina, and I didn't like it.
Well, I think it's just interesting.
Especially after they killed the Landstriders. That was like when it happened.
I mean, it didn't strike me as a sin because if they,
I didn't like it.
It would have just as easily been that they could have survived that fall without the wings.
True.
So
Well,
it
and
didn't
also,
bother me.
I feel like
She
there
could
were
have flown
other.
away.
Yeah, it's the Eagles.
Yeah.
Don't talk about those eagles.
That's right. She only uses the wings once.
Twice.
To just kind of flutter down.
Yeah.
She uses them at the end too.
Maybe she doesn't know how to use them because she doesn't have parents.
She also. Cause she, what?
She's
She doesn't have any
jevenile. She doesn't have all the wings yet.
I see.
Yeah, she didn't know how to use them.
That's canon. That's canon.
It also comes. That's when
Cheeseburger.
she also had magic summon the
Magic the
Gathering.
Gathering.
Summon the animals.
you have
power.
the gift. What gift? I was yelling at the screen when they did that.
What gift?
I do think though that scene was pretty cool when the scientist gets killed. Like the way it looked.
Oh, yeah,
falling down,
absolutely.
that was really well done.
into the lava.
Yeah, like, the way it looked was really pretty well done.
They should
thought
have played
that-
the Emperor screaming sound though.
The Skeksis. The Skeksis design. I thought were great. I loved
Yeah.
the look and feel of those.
Yeah,
guys.
they were
And
cool.
I like the Mystics too.
The
but
Mystics were my favorite design actually.
I like that they were kind of similar, like the big, not necessarily a beak, but like kind of big
I can see this.
protruding heads.
Like I can't believe because this came out at the same time. Like while he was working on this, someone
Empire
else
Strikes Back?
someone else was producing Fraggle Rock. You know,
Oh.
there's so much similarities in these look of these creatures. Like the Podlings could be Fraggles or the Dozers. There's a lot of Fraggle Rock feel to it. Yeah, just no electric guitar.
Yeah. Could have used a little bit of that. And I really wanted Kermit to be like in the background of like one shot in this movie.
You know, it'd been funny if Kermit was walking and he gets eaten by the big fly trap.
That's it.
You know,
It's still not easy being green.
get his arm out. It's not easy, Keen Green.
The voice cast for the new series is really good. Like
I like the voice cast of this better though.
you do.
I like the Emperor better in this one.
Yeah,
The
he's-
Emperor's way, or
not
the general.
the general, yeah.
General's way better in this. In
Yeah.
the
Agreed.
in the original movie.
a lot of the voices.
Can
are
I
good.
spoil something
Please,
in the new one?
come on,
Do you care?
do it.
I don't care.
This doesn't make sense. Obviously, they're going to tell the story more, but they killed the general in the last episode of this one.
Huh?
Chamberlain kills him,
What a jerk.
but it's
Maybe
like
it becomes maybe the general.
maybe there's a different general.
It's a new general that's going to have the voice from this one.
Yeah, and it's like I thought this was the general. You know, the same general. He did look different because he had a helmet and stuff.
I mean, he's the general in general.
They did show that there,
Generally
they
speaking.
did show that there are other in the series. There are other Skeksis all around. They're not all in the castle.
I see.
Yeah, they killed another one off. Too.
That was something I again, compared to the just hit you over the head with information at the start, I liked how they started to show you that they were mirror images. Like there was, it was a 1-to-1 of a Skeksis to a mystic. And
So apparently, I read the lore, and the scene where they undress, you know, they banish and undress Chamberlain, which is
that
such
was
a dark,
brutal scene.
brutal
It was
scene.
really good. Yeah,
I tried to look the way they made his body and stuff is so gross.
really gross.
Apparently, the Skeksis have forearms too.
Oh.
One of them, but they
do.
They're not.
Yeah,
they can't use one of them. But in the series, there's one Skeksis called the Hunter that can use them, and he's pretty cool in the series.
General Grievous. huh?
Grievous. Yeah.
Yeah, it basically was General Grievous. So they both have forearms.
Interesting that they had some sort of a thing for clothes as status.
Well, apparently, according to Jim Henson, it's kind of like shows how vain, like they kind of represent the deadly sins, you know,
Sure.
how vain and how like
Well,
how materialistic they are.
Well, they showed to me.
And that's their jewelry, you know.
I think I mean I looked this up. I'm guessing this is just an obvious connection, like dots to connect, but it felt very much like is it id and is it super ego?
Super ego and
The kind of opposites.
Yeah.
It feels like that. Given that when you merge them together into one thing,
You get
yeah.
the duality.
yeah. So that's
So like
kind of
all your wants and your ids are all the Skeksis,
yeah.
and then the mystics are the.
And they just literally want to suck the life force out of. That was a cool scene in the new one. I liked that in the first episode.
And
I liked how they did that.
They play on it, you know.
Yeah, that was.
And then at the end, they merge into a completely stupid being that I have no emotional attachment to. That I like the Mystics better.
So apparently,
They
So-
look like the glowing. Who are the? Speaking of General Grievous, the like politician, like with the weird hats.
We must leave you now.
They look like. What are you doing? Like those guys in the newer ones.
Oh,
the merged versions. look,
stereotypical Asian.
yeah, the ones that kind of.
I'm not going to mess with a Jedi.
Yeah, they,
Send a droid.
The merged version look like tall, glowing versions of those guys.
They did, but they came first.
Yeah.
So
You would know that if you were Dark
apparently,
Crystal.
Sorry.
apparently, either they added on to it or retconned it, but the Skeksis and the whatever those creatures are called, I don't know what they're called. When they merge as one, I know what they're called.
Yeah, they never say.
They are from another planet, and they arrived on Thra, which is what this place is, and they're alien to Thra, and then when they were banished though from their other planet, I guess.
Were they jerks or?
I don't know. This is explained in the show, but I read some more lore about it. But they split into two when the crystal cracked. But it's interesting because he had a vision of the Skeksis cracking the crystal. I don't know if that's symbolic of it, or the Skeksis doing it, or just how it cracked.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense if it cracked and they split into two beams. I don't understand.
They
that.
can't.
I don't get it either.
One of the
Yeah.
two beings can't do it if they weren't split before it was cracked.
Yeah. So there's a little No. But
Plot hole.
just one? There's a lot of plot holes. All the performers have holes in them.
I mean, for the hands, you know.
Yeah. Chamberlain, I hate your whimper.
That actually hurt my ears a little bit. But it was okay. It's okay. It's all for the craft.
I'm just hungry.
You know what I really liked about this movie? I was continually surprised by the set design.
Yeah.
Every time a new set came in, I was like, whoa. Wow. They worked really hard on this.
They did.
This was better world building to me than Labyrinth.
I think that's probably why you probably would appreciate the series. Aaron, I know you're not going to watch it, but I think if you did watch it, you appreciate the world building. That's why I kind of like it, and the sets that they created, and like all this for a TV series, you know.
And I appreciate that work.
Yeah.
But Netflix ain't getting my money anymore, so.
Oh, you don't have Netflix anymore?
No, I'm cutting it off. They're taking Frasier off, man. I got no reason to stay. I got no reason to
We're
stay.
all out. Get out of here. Good Lord, times.
They cracked the crystal.
I am wounded.
Wounded, I tell you. Why are they taking Frasier out?
Because it's not profitable or something.
Oh, good Lord, Niles.
What did you guys?
What's it gonna hurt being on there?
It probably just costs money to host it.
Oh.
Anyway, you were
Maybe
saying
here-
They're gonna move.
calling.
They're gonna move it to. Was it NBC?
yeah, great. Another service
gonna-
that I don't want to pay
They're
for.
gonna move it to their service.
I've
That's
watched
what's
it
gonna
twice.
happen.
Anyway.
What did you guys think of the Agra character? Because she leads off the new series a little bit as like this,
You know,
which was weird. Anyway, forget it.
when the movie started, I was having trouble getting engaged, and then when she came in, I was like, okay, this is a little more entertaining. She got the cool eyeball thing going on, and she's kind of mean, but
She's a cool
funny
puppet.
mean. Yeah, very, very like.
I like her better in the series, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't get to her in the series.
In the
so-
series, she's more like. So in the series, the Skeksis or the other whatever the things were built her that observatory.
the planetarium.
Yeah,
thing.
the planetary, and they taught her how to basically what do you call it? Astral project.
Oh.
And so she's astral projecting in the universe, and they are taking care of the crystal for thousands of years. And when she comes out, it's all a mess. So that's what happens.
Oh, okay.
So they let.
I was wondering how that.
So
worked.
they knew each other, but in the movie, it's like they don't really know each other. Like
Yeah.
they didn't. It's like it didn't really.
So the
elaborate.
series kind of takes some liberties. Huh?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can respect that.
But I actually kind of like it. The series is actually more complex than this simple storytelling. You know,
yeah. I'm
basically,
sure.
someone
It's just
says
more
Game of
dense.
Thrones with puppets.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, you have more opportunity, but also they're more. They were just telling the story more efficiently and better in the series. You could tell that right away.
Yeah, there's more characters
I
in the
feel
characters.
like we're kind of we've danced around it a little bit. Like this, the density of this story. So much of like the information about what's happening is communicated in like exposition. Like it's just that's just how it's shared.
So I think the choice is why they probably did that was one. This is the only movie I think that has nothing but puppets in it, and two, it's like there's so much visual stuff to take in. Mm-hmm. He probably said, let's just keep the story simple. Let's make it as simple as possible. Make it easy for people to understand to take in this world because we really want to visually show them this world that we created, and we don't want to put too much on them. It still didn't work. I mean, like it didn't do well in the box office, but
it came across.
no, but it came across. But I think the choice was intentional because there was so much complex stuff going on. They wanted to keep it a very simple.
I can believe that from not only that standpoint, but from a budgetary standpoint as well. Seems like they
It's
were
true.
like, this is really complicated, guys. We need to
And
keep it
probably,
simple.
even though they're spending a lot of money on the series, they can go to place quicker and easier, and still make it's not as everything. There's sets, but not all sets. There's like you can add things with green screen and CGI to help you a little bit with stuff, and it's it works in this world. But I mean, a lot like those matte paintings in this movie. You're like, how much those probably cost?
a pretty penny.
Yeah. I mean, where I guess I agree with you that they probably tried to simplify it, and they had to make it like a lot of these scenes of it. Like I said before, it's very movement based. Like how are we going to make it interesting to get them from this point to this point, and then this point to this point? But like, there's no. I don't think any of the characters. The most interesting characters were the couple of the Skeksis was Chamberlain, I thought. But our leads cool. Our leads though that were with most of the time, I thought I don't know, maybe they were just poorly written or didn't care. I don't know.
I think Jen and them are pretty boring.
Yeah,
but I do the same like this. The music is probably one of the most strongest parts of it, and there's
enjoy that.
And there's some. It's amazing music, but the use of the music and the use of storytelling in the way that they figure out they can communicate with their dream fasting or whatever it's called. That sequence when they did it was such a great way of exposition.
Great. Exactly.
But show but don't tell.
Exactly.
So
you didn't need to have somebody just narrate
also
it.
Intimacy. Like that was the strongest character with them. You know what I mean? And it's like it was beautiful, and the way the music like that. I love that scene because it was very dramatic and very cool. I was like that's a really well put together part.
Yep.
I was like, that's filmmaking.
It gets a lot done in a small amount of time.
It does, and it was like, and you get the feels. That's the strongest I felt for these puppets, you know, and so some people can argue, well, it's puppets. You don't really feel for them.
I can feel for a puppet.
I felt for them.
I still believe to this day that it's not easy being
nothing for that.
I got it. But in the series, I do feel they elaborate the characters more because they have time to do it. And I do think they're real characters. They're not just puppets walking around. You know?
I mean, Jen's all right. He was a little dry. The only real criticism I had was that his face didn't have a lot of articulation.
Neither do the new ones either.
Well, and that's
they
okay.
Do and they don't.
You know, for some reason, the girl, what was her name again?
Kira.
There's so many names I can't remember from this movie.
Yeah.
Jen is the only one I remember. But the girl's face was way better, I thought.
Because I think they made her more like plump.
Maybe you're right, but Jen's face, it just didn't move much. But the eyes were good. Eyes were pretty good.
The eyes, the puppets are better now, but it's still a small little puppet.
They could have just used like one more control for smiling and frowning.
So in this, and even in the new
Age of Resistant
ones, they said they can't move these like a regular puppet because it'd be like the Muppets. Like the Podlings, they can move like Muppets. But this is they want to make them more realistic, and he said he had to figure out a way to do it where he doesn't do this. He walks with it, but he has to walk in small steps.
Yeah, you got
to get it. There's so much thought just in the puppetry alone in this movie.
Yeah,
I can't knock it on that aspect.
You know what's interesting is like speaking of puppets, like Yoda is one of the most fantastic puppets ever made.
Agreed.
And they said they wanted to nominate. They tried to get the Oscars to nominate Frank Oz for Best Supporting Actor, which
I support this.
But they said no because he's a puppet. You can't do it. And it's like
you're right. It's not acting.
It's like that's bullshit. It's the purest form of acting because it was one of the original forms of theater. It was the original form of acting. It was puppets.
Marionettes.
What'll happen is people will give Andy Serkis credit, like especially once mocap.
They haven't already?
Once it becomes just like every movie, everybody's motion captured. Like that'll become
Andy
an Oscar
Serkis is
category. But to your point, it probably should be somebody like Frank Oz who gets credit for stuff like this. To like,
there's
simulate.
So much character,
yeah.
and that's what Jim said. You know, I'm directing the visuals, and Frank directs the characters and the actors and stuff. And it's like there's so much acting in it.
Yeah.
And even the new ones, they said like the voice actors come in. And they said, you know, it's an interesting, different way of doing it because now we have to match what the puppeteers' choices were of this and how they delivered it, or not how they delivered it, like the timing of it and the feel for what they wanted it. So obviously there's acting in the puppeteers. And he said it's hard, but it's really cool. So we're just kind of like sound effects, but we're still adding to it. But the voice acting is more secondary to the puppeteers.
Yeah,
because they have to really match it, and the actors and the puppeteers make the choices.
Yeah,
but that's why Frank Oz should win because he was both. You know, he was puppeteering and the voice of Yoda. He wasn't originally going to be the voice of Yoda.
One of my heroes.
Yeah,
so good.
Let's rate
for Jedi here.
let's rate this movie.
All right, who wants to go first?
Yeah,
I'll go first.
Okay,
5.
5?
Yeah,
okay.
5 because
below Labyrinth.
Below Labyrinth.
Yeah,
because. One, I appreciate it for the artistry. I love this movie for the artistry, but I remember as a kid not liking it at all. But I like the artistry of it. I love Jim Henson. The Labyrinth was more of an entertaining story. Mm-hmm. I thought it was more fun. But I actually think I like the series better. Yeah.
I'll go next. I gave it a 4. So I gave Labyrinth a 5. This a 4. I don't like. I think there's obviously plenty of things to like about it. But I don't think it's necessary. I wouldn't tell somebody you absolutely need to go see it. I would point them to Labyrinth first, actually. Even though I do think there's a lot more
Definitely a niche
kind of holistic fantasy stuff in here that I think for some people will really work. I think it'll work even better than Labyrinth did. And I mean, just the world building and the puppets and stuff are so good. But from a story standpoint, I thought it was a little bit kind of
dressed down.
Yeah, and Ben's totally right. I even just watching the first episode of the new show, like there's so much more they could have explored a little bit that they just kind of stripped out. To your point, so
Okay, perfect.
what do you think,
I will give it a 6. It was bogged down, certainly, by its weak plot and fantasy babble abound. But, for what it was, it won me over, because I was not on board at first. And mostly for the artistry, I would say.
Now, why would you rate this better than The Labyrinth?
Because I enjoyed it more.
But why though? Like I kind of want to lock down why.
I felt like it just drew me into the world more. Mm-hmm. I guess that's one of my criteria for a fantasy. I have to be drawn into it.
I think you would like the series.
What do you think pulled you out of Labyrinth that this succeeded in doing?
It helped that there wasn't music or singing in this one. It helped. Although, one David Bowie number wouldn't have been bad.
I did love the music. I did love the music.
This was missing one.
I did love the Podley music. Didn't you love that
David
music?
Bowie's.
You're right. This was it was very similar to, in a way, of Blade Runner in terms of like atmospheric.
I guess. It felt kind of Star Warsy in places.
It did, but like when they go to the Podlane area, like I thought that was very Blade Runner. Like they're just sitting around, like
they kind of throw you into a world and don't tell you anything there.
Yeah, I like that. And I liked even like the music they played in that. Like that was such a fun. And then like I
didn't realize there were Celtic people on this planet.
Well, and that scene was really good because it added a minute of levity, and then all of a sudden, like the Beatles,
they tear it down in like 2 seconds.
I did like Chamberlain, like
yeah.
That was my one criticism of this movie that I think that I wanted to change. Wouldn't it have been more interesting if Chamberlain actually did want peace, and he was trying to do that?
In the series, there is not Chamberlain himself, but there is a band, Skeksis, that does.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
a resistance Skeksis.
He's not a resistance Skeksis. He teams up with his other half, which is kind of cool. Which I just ruined the whole show for you, man.
Oh man!
And everybody else who didn't watch.
Oh
it.
man!
Oh. But actually pretty funny. The series is better. There's more humor in it.
I like humor. Sorry, that was a little too real.
I like humor.
I like it.
I like to laugh.
Controversial opinion, I know.
Next week we're doing that hilarious new film,
that 70s show.
I think we're gonna do it. Right?
It Chapter 2?
Yeah.
We've been waiting on this one for 2 years.
That's 2 its.
I bid 2 bits.
Was that really 2 years ago? The first one?
Wow.
Almost exactly 2 years ago.
Wow. Man, it flew by.
And I'm glad they're not rushing it.
Yeah. That was one of our early shows. It Chapter 1.
Can I say this real quick about the Dark
Go
Crystal?
for it.
The scene where they go to Algra's planetarium.
That's a cool scene.
Does the way they lit that thing looks CG to me?
It's just very well lit.
It looks so fake. It's so weird, but like that's a real thing. In the series, they obviously have a CG one, but the way it looks, it's CG. Did that look CG to you?
No, not to me.
Not really.
To me, it always the way it looks for some reason.
It triggered my
Somebody built this.
Stupid contraptions. I don't like overcomplicated contraptions that just are complicated for the sake of.
So when you're
like,
watching
looking
Pee-wee's Big
complex.
Adventure, do you like have a conniption fit?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. We'll have to do that one, and I'll just be.
How else am I gonna eat breakfast?
Yeah.
Mr. T!
Pea food, don't eat my cereal.
Also, quick note, I guess this was the last film, a really Oscar-winning cinematographer, Britain's best cinematographer.
Oh, sad.
Oh,
It was pretty good cinematography.
I agree.
No,
it was
definitely
fun to
was.
look at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
He used like a gel or something on the, like a filter on the lens to get a certain look to it.
Make it it wasn't like a soft filter, was it?
I don't know. I forget.
Does Jim Henson want to say goodbye?
Together again. Saying goodbye. Why is it sad? Makes us remember the good times we've had.